With our final topic, Jeff, I want to talk about a former head coach of ours, Dan Reeves, who coached the Falcons from 1997 to 2003. In his second year, he led us to the Super Bowl where we lost to the Broncos. Jeff, do you think Dan Reeves deserves to be inducted in the Falcons Ring of Honor?
No. And when I saw the guy that is the editor for Falcons SI Now put that question out there, I about shit myself, right? Like it was absolute. Like you put it out there, do Dan Reeves and Julio Jones belong in the Ring of Honor? Julio is the obvious one, right? And I think Julio goes in there at some point this year. To put Dan and look, Dan Reeves was great. Rest in peace. I was able to interview him. And I put that out there on X for people to listen to. We had a good little chat. When I was back at 92.9, 8 years ago, whatever it was. He went to the University of South Carolina. I'm a Clemson guy, like Clemson alum, right? Like, so we had that little banter there as well. And so, look, I appreciate him, right? And 1990, what was it, 1998? I think a lot of Falcons fans will always remember that nice little run, that miracle run. But to even put his name out there is absurd. He was 49 and 59, I think, as the head coach of the Falcons. So he was under 10 games under 500. Was here for 6 seasons. Like, we're not talking about Dan Reeves, Broncos head coach. Right? We're talking about the twilight of his end of his career, where he, struck gold one more time, and was able to get Crystal Chandelier to lead this team to the Super Bowl. Right? They need a lot of luck along the way. There aren't any coaches in the Ring of Honor. I don't know how you even look and go, Dan Reeves should be the first. He's what I think number 3 in wins behind, I think, Dan Quinn and Mike Smith. I think Mike Smith is number 1 if I'm not mistaken. Dan Quinn, I think, is number 2. I think and then Dan Reeves number 3. So no, he does not deserve to be in the Ring of Honor. For me, I don't know that I would put any coach in the Ring of Honor. We haven't had a legendary head coach here in Atlanta. I don't know if we ever will. And when I think of legendary, I think, along the lines of what, like, the Steelers have had. Their entire history as a franchise, they've had 3 head coaches. Like, you put those 3 guys in your Ring of Honor. They all won Super Bowls. They were all there for 20 plus years. Like, those are coaches you put in your Ring of Honor. You don't put a guy in there who was here for 6 fucking years and won less than 10 games per year. Like, that to me is just absolutely ridiculous to even entertain that. And I get it. People want an engagement farm. People really like those $11 fucking paychecks they get from X for having the verified account. Like, I get all of that, right? But, like, stop putting shit out there like that. It creates and then, God bless him. I love the dude. His name is Scott Carlisle. He's I met him through Twitter. He's a good guy. We've met up in person, had, broken bread. Great dude. And he was like, wait, why would you not put Dan Reeves in there? Are you fucking kidding me? Why would I put Dan Reeves in there? Again, 49 wins in 6 years doesn't get it done. No titles, no, like, it just, for me, it's a no. And I know you were really young. You were really, really young at the time.
Yeah, I mean that's a little before my time, but I did want to do some research on it too to see if there was any validity behind it. Jeff, he had 1 playoff appearance. That's it. Just the Super Bowl run was his own in that 7 years that he coached, just 6, 7 years he coached. He was under 500, obviously, and 1 playoff appearance. If anyone's going in the Ring of Honor as a coach right now, if we just stopped NFL football today and we had to choose one, I'm sorry, it's hard to argue against Smitty. The guy just established a culture in Atlanta. We had 5 straight winning seasons. We made the playoffs 4 out of the 5 years in that span or whatever. And he is very close, actually. If you look at his record, Jeff, he's 66 and 46. That's very close to 60%. Like, he wasn't given a chance to get with the next iteration of the Falcons. And I think part of it, and this is why Dan Quinn failed, is he was buddy-buddy with his OCs. He didn't go for the best choice. He went for Dirk Cutter, who he coached with in Jacksonville. And it worked in 2012, but then, that story kind of faded away in 2013, 2014. Like, this is a lesson for NFL coaches. Like, sometimes, like, you got to go outside and reach out to assistants outside of your comfort zone. It's what killed DQ as well. He relied a lot on Saban's suggestion of Sark as opposed to promoting Matt LaFleur. Now, do I believe that DQ obviously had his own faults too when you take the offense aside, but when you have one portion of the ball humming, it could have let DQ just focus on the D, and the D kind of fell apart after the offense started collapsing because he needed to put his attention there. So yeah, as of right now, Jeff, like if you ask me best coach in our franchise history, I know he didn't take us to the Super Bowl like DQ or Reeves, but he established the culture. That was consistency, and the players really liked him.
I think one thing that really, I think it's safe to say that Mike Smith may still be here if he hadn't gone on Hard Knocks and talked about how sacks were overrated. Because that didn't just have fans scratching their head. I told the story a couple of weeks ago on this podcast that I was with the original Dirty Bird himself. And he was livid that an NFL coach would go on national TV, a thing that millions of NFL fans watch, and say something as stupid as sacks are overrated. And that really started to sour the relationship. I think if he had not said that, I think he could have had a year or two of losing and gotten right back up. But when you couple that with all of a sudden now, well, this coach doesn't take it seriously, this coach doesn't know what he's doing, like you start to get those grumblings and those rumblings, all of that kind of cascades. Otherwise, if he had never said that, I think we still get the Super Bowl in 2016. I think we probably win it in 2016, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I think it just changed the entire trajectory of this franchise by saying that retarded-ass statement on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. And it's funny. With a lot of coaches, you can point to that one mistake, like the downfall, right? Like, that was Mike Smith's, like, that was the beginning of that. For Bill Belichick, you can point to him, they're very famous for cutting players 1 year early and getting the most value out of him, trading him away. The one mistake he made in all of his calculations, Tom Brady just defied logic. The guy was going to play till 45. He didn't fit the mold. And the one mistake, the reason why he got run out of New England, and I promise you, if Brady didn't go to Tampa and win a Super Bowl, he'd still be in New England right now. It's the fact that he went and played for the Bucks, led them to a title, and pissed off Robert Kraft because Bill got you 6, but because he didn't get you that 7th one, and you saw your former quarterback holding the trophy, yeah, Kraft got pissed off, and that's why Bill B's not there. Every coach has that one error. You can point to one error for all these coaches that get fired. For Smith, it was definitely that. For Bill, it was pointing out it was not trusting that Brady can go play into his 40s, which frankly, Jeff, I don't know that a lot of QBs can't. Like, Brady just defied logic. Belichick was playing the averages, but, like, Brady's an outlier.
Yeah, no doubt. And, we could probably have an entire podcast series dedicated to the what ifs. But it's kind of crazy to reflect back and kind of what if our way to a Super Bowl title here in Atlanta.
Yeah, totally. I mean, because the thing is, we had a lot of those pieces. That Super Bowl team, that 2016 team, like, a lot of that was Smitty's team. And we didn't change our GM. That was TD. Yep. TD was there. So, like, he was made. It's not to say that, like, we wouldn't have Grady. It's not to say that we wouldn't have made those picks that we did in 2015 to 2016. We might not have had Kyle Shanahan, but yeah, who knows? What if?
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, I think that takes us to the end of today. wanted to thank all of you guys for following along, subscribing. If you like the podcast, drop a comment, drop a like. Really appreciate you guys. We'll be back at a similar time next week. And if there's ever content that you guys want us to speak about, it's a long off season. There's going to be some lulls. Just feel free to drop a comment to Jeff or myself on X, and maybe your segment will be featured on the next episode of Flight Path. Till then, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and we will see you all next